Hi guys, it's Justine, and welcome to my Distress Oxide event that I am hosting here as a part of my April celebration for 1 million views. I've brought along my friend Josephine to help me with the mixed media aspect of Distress Oxide inks, and will hopefully answer all the questions and doubts you may have about Distress Oxide inks. It is running from April 4th to the 7th, which means that there are 2 videos on my channel and then 2 videos on Josephine's channel, so you'll have lots of inspiration and ways to check out how to use them. Today I'm going to be focusing mostly on blending because that's where most of my questions come from. But tomorrow I'm also going to have a 5 ways to use Distress Oxide ink video. I'm also going to be giving away a full set of Distress Oxide inks both today and tomorrow. So that's 2 full sets, which is $150 value. So be sure to head to my blog, the video's description is below, in order to check that out. I'm going to be using the Love is in the Air stamp from Strawberry Jude Stamps. This is a company I'm guest designing for this month, and I've been having a lot of fun with this new to me company. I'm going to be stamping all the stamps that I'm going to be using on the card onto some Inkadinkajou masking paper. Now the masking paper means that when I peel off the back, they're going to be sticky and create sort of like a post-it note effect where I can stamp on top and it won't stamp underneath the image. So I'm going to stamp all of these images and fussy cut them off screen. I'm going to be building a scene, and so I'm going to be needing to think about what is going to be in the foreground and what is going to be in the background. So I'm going to start off with these 2 little squirrels. They're absolutely adorable, and they're going to be in the foreground. And then behind them are going to be the letters love, or the sentiment love. So in order to do that, I have to grab some masking paper. Remember I just said I cut it off out screen. I cut it out off screen is more what I want to say, and then I place that over top. Then I'm going to stamp the sentiment, and then I'm going to mask off the sentiment because I'm going to want to create a background on this using some distress inks, and I want to have some fun little creatures poking out from behind the letters. So you really have to plan out what's going to be in the foreground and what's going to be in the background when doing masking. You can create some really elaborate scenes that end up being just a 1-layer card by the time you're done. So I put down the masking on all the letters, and then I fiddled around with these little critters here and wanted to put them sticking out from the letters. So I rearranged them the way I liked, and then I stamped those as well and covered them with masking paper as well. So now I have my whole scene ready to go, and I'm ready to start doing my background. Now when I did my distress comparison video, so I did a comparison video already between Distress Oxide inks and regular distress inks. I'll link to that in the corner. And I had gotten a lot of questions about blending. How do they blend? Because I know a lot of my followers are clean and simple people and 1-layer cards and do mostly blending with distress rather than background techniques. My general overall review is that I actually prefer Oxide inks over the regular distress inks, and there's a few reasons why. With distress inks, it's really hard to do what I'm doing right now and start blending in the middle of a paper. I always say to start off the paper and work your way in to avoid harsh lines with regular distress inks. With Oxide inks, it's no longer necessary because they're made of pigment and dye inks. So dye inks, like the regular distress inks, seep into the paper and stay there. Where pigment and dye mix, stay in the paper but also stay on the surface so I can blend out any harsh lines. What's also really great is that it doesn't take me very long to build up the color. Sometimes I can be sitting for 10-20 minutes building up color on a distress ink card with regular distress that I can probably do in half the time with the Oxide inks because they're just so creamy. The one thing though is that the regular distress inks seem to me to be more vibrant. These have more of a milky tone to them, so it just depends on the look that you're going for as to which ink you want to use. They are available in 12 different colors at the moment, and the colors are the same as the Distress regular inks. So for this card, I'm using Worn Lipstick, Wilted Violet, Spiced Marmalade, and Fossilized Amber. I created a nice, vibrant, and colorful background, and here is my favorite part, is peeling off all the masking layers and seeing what ended up happening underneath the surface. I actually thought about leaving this card as is, putting it on a card base, and calling it a day because I thought it looked so cool with that white against the color. However, I asked the opinion of some of my crafty friends, and they told me my squirrels looked unloved, and I don't want my squirrels to ever look unloved. So I grabbed some Copic markers, and I began coloring the squirrels, as well as the fox. But before I did that, I added a little bit of water so that it would react with the Distress Oxide ink and look even cooler. So I'm going in with E55 and E15. I'm not doing anything fancy here. I'm not doing any sort of blending or multi-layer coloring or anything like that. I'm just coloring them as is because in my opinion, they're just too cute, and I've already put a lot of detail in the background that I don't want to distract from that white love. I think that's going to be the main focal point of my card. So I don't want my coloring to distract that. Also, as I've mentioned in previous videos, Copic coloring and myself, I'm not terrible at it, but I know it's not my strength, so I tend to stick with what I'm good at, and that's pretty much distress inks. So once that was all finished, I grabbed a card base, made sure my surface was dry, and then I just glued this onto my card base here. It's a top folding card, and I absolutely love the way that it turned out. It's so vibrant, fun, and absolutely adorable, and I hope you enjoyed this too. Tomorrow I'm going to have a lot more techniques that you could use using Distress Oxide inks, and I hope you enjoyed the video. So if you have any questions, please leave them below. Don't forget about my giveaway. It's happening over on my blog. You can access it here. You can click on to subscribe to my channel, or you can check out 2 other videos, one about Distress Oxides and one about blending with regular Distress inks. Thanks so much for watching, everyone.